In Lab 7, we're going to create a new version of the postcard using XMPIE instead of the data merge panel within InDesign. To do this on the lab computers, and it will only work on the lab computers, not your own computer, you have to open a version of InDesign that is called CC, so just simply Creative Cloud, not Creative Cloud 2018 or 2017, it'll have to be CC. In this case, on my computer, I do not have CC, so I'll have a little bit different than what you're seeing, but it's going to be very similar. So I will use Spotlight to get to that, so I can go, the shortcut is Command Spacebar to bring up Spotlight. I type in InDesign, and I'm going to pick one of the CC versions on lab computers. You will see that you have 3 versions of CC. So you have a 2018, 2017, then you'll have a plain CC. I don't have that. I'm going to open it this way. What you see is going to be very much the same, but your computers will not output this file because of the trial version. So again, make sure that you're using InDesign CC. I'm going to create a new document, and I'm going to create a new custom document, 6x4, and then I'm going to make sure that I have some bleeds in this document. So again, I want to open up so that I have my inside bleed, and I'm going to just go 0.125 bleeds. So I'm going to create this document with a bleed. And in my pages, I can bring a second page down into this here. So I'm going to have the front of my document, the back of my document, same as before. The way you access the XMPIE interface is Window, XMPIE, you create print. So again, navigate to Window, the XMPIE, and then you create print, and you'll see that it opens up something that's very familiar, similar to the data merge. And the you create print says open a new or existing document. We've done that. We've created with an 1/8 inch bleed. Select or link to a data source. In this case, I'm going to go to the same data source that I used before for the demonstration, so link to a data source. I'm going to navigate to that, tell it that I want it to use the US data source. And it is a CSV, so it's a comma-separated value. Hit OK, and it says the links are complete and they were successful. So if you look in this space over here, you'll have first name, last name, and all of the information that we had before. You'll notice that this one has the @ sign in it because I had that set up in that file to indicate that that would be an image, but it does not come in as an image. If I look at this and I right-click this to select that one, you'll see that I have a type option here. So a type option, I can tell it that it's a graphic, and some of the options that I have is to create this as a graphic, a text file, or visibility, or style. So I can have something turn on and off in visibility, or I can change style. So I could change color of font or whatever I want it to change. Or I can just say this is going to bring in a graphic variable. If you notice this turns into a little, like a sunset over a hill. That says that it's an image. If I would go into another one of these here and tell it that it's a visibility issue, then I have a little eyeball in front of it. So these are text, this is visibility, this is a graphic. Another option, if I tell it that it's a text file, it has a different look, so it has the T with some extra underneath of it. And if I tell it that it's a style difference, it will have the text with a style indicator under there. So those are the 5 different things that I can do. So I can replace text, I can replace text style, I can replace the text file, an entire file, I can call visibility out, or I can replace images as graphics. So if I'm going to place a graphic, so now let's place a graphic in here. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can get all of our bleed. If I just take a frame the same as what I did before and bring that in and let it snap to that bleed, and then to select the placement of that, I would just double click this. All right, if you've got this that says sample in there, there's several things that can be happening, and one of them is that there is no information that says that there is that state there. So the graphic is missing, or I don't have it linked, or something else is happening. If you click that, it should be a preview of what you're working with. For right now, we're going to let that go, but it says right here, it says state maintain transformation. So it links to the standard scaling of what you do. In XMPIE, one of the unique things that's different than data merge is that I can be proportional, or the properties of this box, I can state those here and they will be retained. If you remember in data merge, if I changed the fitting of a box for a graphic, every time I'd preview turn on and off, it would lose that memory and it would scale incorrectly again. This one here, I can actually get it to fit. So a couple of other things quickly that I want to talk about here is what happens when I click to change my parameters. So in this state, in the columns that refer to that, I'm going to change the conditional statement here by right-clicking and then edit the rule. So instead of doing my if-then in the Excel file, I will edit the rule here so that column right here says at state, or I'm just going to call that column, call it the map callout. I'm going to tell it that it is a graphic. And then this part right here is whether it's available on a campaign dial or not. That's an extension that we don't have available to us right now. And then the annotation is the same as if I'm doing XML or HTML. I can do an annotation in here that says it doesn't pertain to anything. It's just a note to myself. What I'm doing right here is I'm setting the rule. And what I'm going to do is say if this column is equal to string. The string indicates something that's a text or a string of text. So I'm just going to go in here and I say if the string is equal to CO, then the graphic that is going to be returned there is going to be a string named Colorado. And that happens to be an AI file that I have. And then I'm going to go back in here and say, okay, if it's Colorado, it says it should bring in that image. I'm going to add another one. It says else if, and this is how we do the nested statements. Else if it equals CA, then the graphic is going to be California.ai. So again, it will bring in that map. And we can continue to just keep nesting these and so on. And I'm going to do one more here, and then I'll show you what the other piece is. So if it equals NV, then that string would be Nevada.ai. So again, what it's asking is, is it Colorado? Then it's going to put a Colorado map in. If it's California, it's going to put California in. If it's Nevada, it's going to put Nevada in. The else graphic says what else if we have nothing else. So the end statement, if it's anything else, we're just going to leave it blank. Or in this case, as we did before, we could do a USA map and say if it's any of these states, return the state map. If it's anything else, give us a US map. Then if I hit OK, that's going to apply that. And as I would step through these would each link. But that's the conditional statements. So again, edit the rule, that applies the conditional statements. I don't have those maps in there currently, so they're returning as empty with this placeholder image in it. The QLingo is a piece of script that is added in here. So if you know coding at all or scripting, it becomes very simple. So it says if the state is equal to CO, I type this, if, else, else, and then the last statement is an else. Everything else I type this. But you can see how I could actually copy these statements from the else if, and I could just continue to add these in and modify it. I added one too many brackets there. I'll get rid of that. So in this Nevada, I could actually go in here and I can say, okay, if it's Alaska, and then I'm going to type in. And then when I hit OK, you'll see that it added Alaska there. So instead of doing this graphical interface where I'm seeing these spaces, I can actually edit QLingo. So whichever one you're more comfortable with, they accomplish the same thing. They're two different ways of entering the same information. Some people find this much easier because they can do this in a text editor, and if you're used to editing and writing that, the QLingo becomes pretty rapid to add states or conditional statements. So some of the other things that you can do is you could say and, or, so you can say if this is true and this is true, if this is true or this is true, then you do something. I can do something that says if it's not California, I would do this. So for California, I would do something different. So there's all kinds of different tests that I can do with the conditions. So greater than or equal, I could say if the number, so if a particular number would equal something, then I could return that as, for example, a zip code. I could do a test of a zip code and say if the number is this, then I return this map, and so on. Right, so if I hit OK again, I've got a placeholder in here because I don't have these linked, but that's a simple tour quickly of what this is right here. Edit the QLingo, edit the conditional statements, and I want you to do at least 2 conditional statements in the uCreatePrint file for the conditional statements rather than Excel files. To turn this in, make sure that you are not packaging the file, but rather turn in a compressed entire work folder.